Not a good bill.
Simon Bridges.
Mr. Chair, this is a worthy bill from a great citizen of New Zealand, Paul Quinn. Paul Quinn, what a great citizen of New Zealand who has done a lot of good things in his life. And, you know, some of those other members saying this will be his finest member. I have a feeling he'll get comfortable in that green chair over time. I have a feeling he might get to sit in that a little bit more in the future. But you know, not only does this man champion the valley, if Paul Quinn is in Parliament, he will be in my cabinet. Now, Mr. Chair, what I want to say to you is not only does this member champion the valley, in his spare time he's coming up with a lot of legislation, a lot of ideas, and this is a very good one from the member. What I say to Stuart Nash is, you know, he says, well, this is about petty criminals. Is it really about the petty criminals? Petty tax fraud. I'm sure you say that to the people who've been ripped off by the so-called petty tax fraud. But actually, you know, it seems to me that one of the central debates we've been talking about throughout the readings and now in committee stages is this serious enough? When we go to send someone to prison, is it serious enough that their right to vote should be taken from them? Absolutely it is. Actually, the last Labor government, in their several years, they liberalised the law. I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with this. They liberalised the law. There were a number of sentences, I think it's 7, that they introduced before you get to imprisonment. We went through supervision, intensive supervision. There's electronic bail, electronic this, that, and the other thing before you get to home detention. So in fact, to get to imprisonment, to be sentenced to imprisonment, a criminal has to have done a serious offence. We're talking about something serious. We absolutely, not only should their liberty be denied, but so should their right to vote. So, you know, I think Paul Quinn has done a very good thing here. And we come back to this question of principle. You know, should serving prisoners have the right to vote? Should serving prisoners have the right to vote? That's ultimately what this comes back to. Now, well, give me a reason. I say to them, give me a reason why actually serving prisoners should have the right to vote. Give me 2 or 3. Give me 2 or 3 reasons why they should have a right to vote. They don't like it, do they? But there's no reason why a serving prisoner should have a right to vote. Because I tell you what, I come back to it. They've done something serious so that they've landed in the clink. They haven't just they haven't stumbled their way in, as Leanne Dazelle would sort of have us think, or Stuart Nash would have us think. They've actually systematically done a serious crime so that the judge has had to, and he has to, or he or she has to, under the Sentencing Act, go past a number of other sentences before they get to imprisonment. Said none of those are suitable, because that's what the law says they have to be satisfied about to get to imprisonment. So when they get there, tell me why, Labor members, tell me why serving prisoners should have the right to vote. The only reason I can think of is that Labor wants prisoners to vote. They think that prisoners should have the vote. Why? Why should they? Give me some good reasons. And Leanne Delville, she talked about how it was a civic duty to vote. It's a civic duty. I absolutely disagree with that. I absolutely disagree that it is a civic duty to vote. That's actually why I'm against, and I have been consistently against compulsory voting, because I don't think people have a duty to vote, actually. Now, people can opt out if they want of the system and decide not to vote. Don't get me wrong. Look, I think people should vote, right? As a personal choice, I think people should. Well, they're soft on crime. They want criminals to vote. But I think actually people shouldn't opt out. They should take their right to vote seriously. They should look at the options. But actually, it's not a duty. It's not a duty that they have. And you know, as I know, the Labor members, they don't like this, and it probably is controversial. But I think about council elections with the plethora of choices people have. Look, unless a person has gone through and thought about all of those candidates, look, Do they have a duty to vote? I don't think so, actually. If they don't know those candidates, maybe the best thing is to not make it. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair.
Simon Bridges.
Maybe the best thing for them to do is not to exercise their right to vote. And so I come back to it. The right to vote, not a duty, it's a right. And yes, it's a precious one. It's one that we need to guard jealously in this country. It's one that, as I said in the first reading in this House, is something that people have gone to war for, have fought over, have shed blood over. It's perhaps not quite right to say that all wars ultimately are fought over democracy and the vote, but you could almost, I think, make that case, certainly in the last century. But you know, it's a right that should be used responsibly. It's a right that we have to jealously guard. And so I come back to it. Should, when we think about that precious right that people have gone to war over, should we give the vote to serving prisoners who have done something exceptionally serious, so that we've decided as a society, look, we need to incarcerate them and keep them inside? Should we then give them the vote? Labor is on the side of the criminals on this. They say that actually what we need to do is we need to give prisoners the vote. And I say to those Labor members when they stand up in this House and they speak about this bill, all I ask is that you give me some substantive reasons why actually prisoners should vote. I'm being told, why are we changing the law? I've said why. Because actually prison is a very serious offence, and the vote comes with as a precious right with responsibilities. They forfeit their right. They've done something so that we've said, you are going inside, you must be kept away from society. I don't want those people, actually, maybe it's old-fashioned, but I don't want those people when they're inside and when they've been incarcerated to have the vote. When they come out and they've been rehabilitated back into society, give them the vote. But, you know, I think we're on the side of the angels here, and we've got actually a Labor Party that's on the side of the criminals, that says to us that prisoners, that criminals who've done very serious drug offending, as Stuart Nash says, serious frauds, Labor's saying give them the vote, let them vote. I don't think so. I think this is a precious right that's been fought over in war, and I just want to commend Paul Quinn for championing the Valley, for bringing this bill, and for doing something good. I'm sure not the last good, worthy, solid piece of work he will do in this House.